I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. There's another paid request, this time from Joseph. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any other type of stuff, or reviews, or topics, or random, or donations, or anything in between, feel free to send them either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, this is for a 1973 film called Torso, which is a Giallo movie. Now, I'm not big on Giallo, although I do like films like Deep Red and Phenomena. This one, I would say this, at least this wasn't boring. I didn't really get into the characters much. Very rarely in a Giallo film I get into the characters, although I did like the leads in Deep Red and Phenomena. But not too often. I mean, it's definitely a fairly sleazy film. You do get a lot of naked flesh. I mean, 1 minute in, you get like a threesome where a guy's laying down, you got two girls, titties and all, being fucked around, and, well, mess around with each other on top of this guy, lucky guy, while they're all being photographed. But pretty much you have this guy who wears a mask, he goes around, he kills people with a scarf, strangles them, and then he'll cut into their bodies with a knife. You don't see too much of that, which is fine. You see enough to get the idea. And I will say that there's at least a little bit of style. When the gore's in there, not too bad. There's some nice moments of direction where they're trying to, especially in the third act. Because for the first, imagine this is a 90-minute film. Give or take, it is. The first hour is pretty much these university students dealing with these killings. Once in a while you have someone get killed and their dead body. Like one person gets killed and the killer then gouges their eyes out, cuts a little bit into the flesh, and then cuts away. And that's actually a pretty decently shot scene because it's foggy, it's in these muddy woods, and she sees a shape of a body, and then it disappears when more fog goes through. And that brought some nice amount of atmosphere to it. Again, the actors, the characters, I didn't really care one way or another. It'll depend maybe if you see a dub version or if you see a subtitled version. Again, I was very indifferent when it comes to the characters. You have this one guy who's a street vendor where the killer would buy his scarves. That guy gets taken care of, where he gets chased after with a car, which is funny because he gets hit with the car against the wall. We see his head get crushed. I mean, the head's been fucking crushed. But when the car leaves, it's the real body with blood, you know, kind of falling back. And I say that's funny because, again, when we saw him get crushed, you see the head, like the head's been broken like a fucking melon. Okay, like Gallagher took a mallet to it, but, or at least cracked. But then the head is fine, but just the guy is dead. So they're just fighting that inconsistency there. But yeah, quite a few bits of nudity. There's not a lot to talk about character-wise. Pretty much these university students, they get to this villa. You even have some lesbian fun going on. You have this one guy who's a peeping Tom, and he gets punished for being peeping Tom because the killer even takes care of him. Which even that was funny, because the guy's against the wall. He's doing this. He could run, he could move, he could go. It's not like he's been frozen in time. It's not like he's been tasered and stunned. He's just standing by the wall. He's like, dude, move. Dude, move. Dude, move. So again, the unintentional bits of humor, at least to me. Again, you get some decent amounts of gore, decent amount of bits of nudity. You know, there's some times early on where they have these almost orgy type of parties. Like two guys sucking on a girl's tits. But she doesn't want to go further than that. She's fine with the two guys and didn't try to get milk from her, but no further than that. I will say, as I'm watching, I'm going, okay, I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about in a review. I'll say the last 20-30 minutes are pretty decent. In the fact that it did a nice job of some suspense. Where it becomes a cat and mouse sequence. And I guess I gotta go into spoilers starting now. Spoilers. Because the person you think is the lead, they're having fun while this one girl sprained her ankle and a doctor looked at her and she's resting. But these others are partying. They open up the door and there's a dead body and then there's the killer. It cuts away. It's the next day and the one girl wakes up and walks downstairs and the rest of the people are dead, including the girl who we thought was our lead. And I thought, oh, well, that was surprising. I didn't see that coming. And the fact that was done off screen, I get why they did, to get that reveal, like, oh, shit. And then the killer is getting the bodies and cutting them up to get rid of the evidence. And again, you see enough. I do appreciate the fact they don't just do it for 10 minutes or even 2 minutes, cutting the bodies, has this hacksaw. They do it just enough for you to get the hint, and then they move on. That's a nice way to do it. You still get a bit of gore, but it's not to the point of torture porn or repetitiveness or, okay, we did it, move on. They did it the right way, I thought. Right amount of time utilized for that. And then the killer leaves and locks the plate she's in so she can't get out. So then she has to find a way to either get word to someone on the outside or hide. And there's some decent bits of suspense. I actually would not have minded more of that. It's about the last 20 minutes. If that was the second half of the film, and even more of cat and mouse in the house, and then in this villa that's empty, and she's hiding from building to building, the killer, is someone here? Then he's looking around. Even more of an intricate cat and mouse chase. I actually would have liked, a bit more of that. And one bit I thought was cool, she's getting this lock open, and she thinks, because the key's on the other side, and she has a newspaper under the door so that when the key drops, she can pull it in. She thinks she gets it, and the key hit the newspaper, and it's pulling. We, the viewer, know the key is over here. But then the killer picks up the key and puts on the newspaper without her noticing. So she thinks she did it to lock the door, and the killer just waits for it. Like, again, that's a nice piece of suspense building. We know something that she doesn't, and the killer's being smart, and what's going to happen next. So again, that's what I mean by there's some nice developments of suspense. I wish there was a bit more. You have this local doctor, and we do see him throughout, but part of me wanted to see a bit more development of him, or just like, oh, he just happens to be local, and I don't know, just maybe he was a red herring, maybe he was put there to be like, maybe he's the killer, maybe he's not, but I don't know, maybe a little bit more development of him. And also the lead girl, she doesn't really do much fighting. See, it's not like an 80s slasher where the girl would actually fight back against the killer. That doesn't happen a lot in these giallo films unless you count Phenomena, which Jennifer Connelly has certain powers. But a lot of times the girl doesn't fight back. She doesn't. She's getting strangled and the guy comes in, and I'm fine with the guy doing it, but at least let the girl fight a little bit. Get a few punches and kicks in there. At least do something. I wouldn't have even minded if there's no guy and she's fighting back. And let's say that after we worked her, like, she survived because she's a tougher, she's a fighter, she beats the guy's ass, does it herself. I actually would not have minded if it was done in that fashion. That's just me. Instead of this almost, I don't want to say random, because we've seen the doctor before. He's the doctor that helped with her ankle. We've seen him a few times before in the rest of the flick, but again, if you, I just would have handled it differently. Because then that guy goes, chases the killer, they're fighting in a barn, which is alright. Gets the guy off the cliff. Who survived? He just survived. The movie's over. You find out a little background. One of the reasons he went crazy is throughout the film we keep seeing the image of this doll, where I think his brother tried to grab this doll when they were kids and he fell to his death. So that doll belonged to this girl, and so he blames women, and I don't know, just crazy. What crazy people think we're crazy people. What crazy people, I don't know how they think, because they're fucking crazy. So this way, it's a title I've heard a lot about. I've heard the name Torso quite a bit. And like I said, I'm not really a big giallo guy, so I'm not really the right guy to ask about this kind of stuff. But I can't sit here and say I hated it. It's decently photographed. Again, the scene in the mud, the foggy woods, I like the way that was photographed. There's some decent amounts of suspense in the third act. If you want a bit of your sleaze, nudity, gore in the first hour, you get that. It's just, I can't say I cared about the story. The story was in one ear, out the other. And I didn't care about the characters. They were in one ear, out the other. So it's not like I loved it or anything. I would never see the film again. Because I just, even in a slasher film, I want someone to give a shit about. I didn't really give a shit about anybody in this. I didn't care if they lived, didn't care if they died. They weren't like awful human beings. I didn't care. So the music was alright. The direction was alright. Some nudity and blood to keep your attention. And then again, a pretty decent, fairly suspenseful third act, which was not too bad. Better than I thought it would be in this kind of film, suspense-wise and during those scenes. So I did like that bit. That's definitely, I think, the best part of the movie. But it's nothing that I think is fantastic. I would never own this in my collection or anything. It's just there. Like I said, if I think of giallo, I just would rather just rewatch Deep Red. Because I like the lead guy in that, as well as, I could love the music, the direction, the death scenes, but also like the lead guy. So that's more my kind of thing. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. Pizzow, good guy. He reviewed the Blu-ray of this. Pizzowell. Again, Pizzowell. Type that in. He's a good guy. He reviewed the Blu-ray of this, so he will tell you the features. He does a great job with that. Definitely check him out. Check his channel out. And we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.